Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Evil Man. A flying stingray from Dunkirk.
Oh,
my
I cleared the
God.
beach.
Not only are the Germans going to attack and we have to sail our boats over there, there's flying stingrays now, too.
Just like Dunkirk, eh, old boy?
You know, I played sorry, Mike, I keep interrupting you, but I played a video game called Demon Souls, and
I said
there were...
stingray, but they were called Spitfires. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you meant like the fish, a stingray, because there were flying ones in the game, and it always stayed with me, that imagery of a big flying stingray. How disturbing.
That'd be awesome.
Imagine if our boys, along with fighting the Germans, had to fight a big, scary monster like a stingray.
They're very creepy looking. If you ever see the underside of one of them, they have a little mouth and it's...
They're usually smiling, though. I mean, come on. Their mouth is usually smiling. It's usually laughing its ass off. Anytime I've seen the bottom of a stingray, it's laughing its ass off.
You know what's upsetting to imagine? You go out, you're on the road, okay? And you go out and you get drunk. Oh my God, so drunk you don't remember how you got home. And then you're in your hotel bed and you're in bed, you wake up hungover. Oh my God. Is there someone in bed next to me? I'm so drunk I don't remember who I brought home with me. And then you pull down the sheets and it's a stingray, an upside down stingray.
Oh God.
Absolutely shocking.
That would be disgusting.
And it's dead?
No, it's, well, I guess it's dead.
It's dead.
It would be horrible.
Oh
Was
God.
it dead
that feeling when
last
you wake
night?
up. Well, you wake up and you think the first thought would be, oh God, did I fuck this stingray to death? Or did it suffocate?
Second thought would be, can I chop up and cook to eat a stingray I killed by having sex with it?
Yum, 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 yum.
Now, here's the thing. Say it's alive when you wake up and you turn over beside it and you look at it and go, what the hell? What was I thinking last night? I had too many. Then you flip it over and you see that smiling mouth and you go, oh yeah, I remember what happened.
And you kiss its mouth.
Yeah.
Good morning, beautiful. Now, Chris, speaking of seafood and tales from the ocean, you just got back from a massive West Coast tour where you dipped your tootsies in the Pacific Ocean. How was that?
I did actually. I touched it with my hand. It was really lovely. I was gone for 12 days. I did 16 shows in 12 days. As you know, new episode out of Stop Podcasting Yourself. I stopped by our friends Dave and Graham's place. They live in a little mushroom house in Vancouver. A lot of people don't know. It's a mushroom that they hollowed out and turned into a podcast studio just under a giant cedar tree there.
Like the Keebler elves type of deal?
Yes, they both are like the Keebler elves. Graham admits it more than Dave, but yeah.
Dave's in denial. He's in Keebler denial. That's great. I just saw Graham Clark this past Sunday. He was kind enough to have me on his show Instagram at Comedy Bar Danforth, and it was a real fun time, and I got to hang out with him after the show for, I think, the first time ever. We've just got to sit down.
How was the chemistry?
It was, to be honest, awkward from start to end, and I was looking for an out where I could politely but firmly say I had to leave. No,
you ever wake up next to a dead stingray? That's what it was like.
Yeah. I kept looking over my shoulder or his shoulder at the door and thinking, "Oh, I'd love to go at that."
Well, you did try a few times, but his beard grabbed your leg.
You're not going anywhere, buddy.
I also saw Graham Clark on Saturday. And he told me that he listens to Evil Men, he loves it, and that he even listens to old episodes doing the dishes. I don't know if that was private info I'm not supposed to share with the public at large, but Graham, thank you.
He didn't mention the dishes part to me, but he did tell me he listens to it. And he says he has a great idea for an episode, but he couldn't tell me what it was. So let's just say my interest is piqued, and we're going to definitely have him on sooner rather than later.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Michael. He told me too. He said something like, it was a compliment. I'm trying to reword the way he worded it was purely a compliment, but he said he really feels like we're getting better too. We keep getting better and better, which was nice.
Well,
better than getting
they've been
worse.
doing it forever. They're some of the originators.
So he said we're getting better, Mike.
No, I know, but it's nice to hear that from a guy. He's one of the originators. He and Dave are some of the original podcasters of all time.
They're the legends.
Yeah. The Graham Show was very fun, and check him out if he's in your town.
Yeah, I saw a clip where you're dealing with a super aggressive heckler from Ottawa, Ontario.
I shut down a small woman sitting in the front row.
How did it feel? So nice. I didn't see the video, Mike. You took down a heckler?
I was trying to do a joke about that Toronto plane crash at Pearson, and stupidly, instead of just telling the joke, I said, "Is everyone here from Toronto?" before doing the joke. The joke didn't need that, but everyone applauded.
Move.
Everyone applauded except one woman who said, "I'm not from Toronto." And then I zeroed in on her, and I trained my comedic firepower on her, and it turned out she was from Ottawa. And luckily, I got to make patriotic hay out of that, and eventually sang "O Canada" to the crowd, and they loved me.
Wow, Mike, that's exciting.
I love your accurate firing of your comedic fire on a heckler. It's like during Dunkirk, like a British Stingray.
Yes.
I mean Spitfire, swooping over the beach to protect the people leaving, the soldiers leaving in the boats.
Yeah. Ouch! Ouch!
Ouch! How do you say
the
ouch?
German's coming! Ouch!
How do you say ouch in German?
Ouch!
Ow! Yeah, that was great. Do it again.
Ow! Ow!
Do it after I shoot you.
Ow! There's holes in me.
You know what, guys?
What?
We're singing the praises of Dave and Graham.
Yeah.
And we all got to see Graham recently.
It is.
And we all got to superficially see Dave recently when he was a guest.
Yes.
But you know what? I love those guys, but being away from you guys for 2 weeks was really hard.
Oh my
and we didn't record for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm just gonna say it because nobody else does. There's no one like the three of us out there. We're so great. We're a great podcast team. There's no one like us.
Thanks,
no
Coach.
one as funny as us, and fun, and smart, and
handsome,
white, and old.
No, we're like when you eat a delicious cake and you go, "What ingredients are in this cake?" And we're just the three right ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that is the perfect way of putting it.
Sugar, flour, cinnamon.
You know what? My oldest daughter. Why is cinnamon making me laugh so much?
Sugar, flour,
cinnamon. If you say it like so solidly like that.
If you put sugar, flour, and cinnamon into a bunch of like into a cupcake tray and then baked it for 450 for 20 minutes, I wonder what would come out. I'm sure it would be
I
delicious.
think it would just be a bunch of powder because you're not mixing it with an egg or anything. You just have really hot powder.
That's it. I'm getting into baking. But I wanted to say my oldest daughter is getting into history a lot now. And she read about Marie Antoinette, and she read about Mary Queen of Scots, and she loves that kind of
What was she watching? The Mary Channel? I mean...
While she's subscribing to the Mary Library, dude. She's a reader. But yeah, I know. It's like there's other names out there, idiot. No, but Mary Antoinette, she was talking about, her saying, "Let them eat cake." And I was like, "Oh yeah." they and she was like, they wouldn't even eat a full cake. They would, have a bite or two and go meh and throw it. And I said, yeah, they had the richest foods, delicacies, whatever they wanted, and they were very wasteful while all the poor were starving outside. Sound familiar? Right. But anyways, then I go, here's the thing. Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette and their pals, think of the cakes, like think of how extremely delicious those cakes would have tasted. Mike, I know you got a sweet tooth. Think about this. All natural ingredients from
Yes.
before GMO times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be so
Also
good.
the
RFK. RFK's like, that was probably the greatest cake ever.
We need to make cakes great again. But yeah, like also best chefs ever in France making these cakes with all natural ingredients in Versailles for the royalty. Like
Can
think
I
about that.
say the one thing that gives me pause here and that fills me with terror
Yeah.
is sure they must be amazing bakers there, bakers for the king and queen of France, but are they washing their hands before, like after they come out of the
Probably
toilet?
not.
Those cakes and cookies and pies must be full of fecal bacteria.
So are you saying that like a smidge of poo taste would be in your cake back then?
I mean,
Because
you'd be
they might still
lucky if you
taste
could
super
taste it.
delicious. I'm talking about taste,
Yeah,
not like
taste.
the disease
Okay.
you would get after.
Yeah, I'm sure they tasted amazing. But this is before a time when we knew about soap and bacteria and germs. So
Yeah.
those cakes
Yeah.
and flans and special tarts must have been just full of disease.
Well, anytime
yeah.
you read an article or like a Reddit thread or something about like what was it really like if you stepped into the world 100 years ago, people often say the first thing you'd notice if you went back to like 1905 London or something is that it would stink. Everything stinks. It's
Yeah.
not great sewage. People don't understand germs. They're probably throwing their
Yeah.
damn poo out the window. I mean,
Well,
we're
I
living
believe
in
in the
the
UK,
most
this is when nosegays were at their height. Is that what they're called?
nosegays.
Is that what they're called?
Flowers?
Yeah, the flowers that you keep near your
You
nose or
call
whatever.
flowers nosegays?
What were they called?
Like GAYS?
Was that
I
to like
don't know.
to purify the smell in
I
your
call those
immediate
things
area?
nosegays because they're gay and they smell them with your nose.
You never heard of a nosegay flower?
Like, don't you think it's like what a dumb guy would call a flower?
A nosegay?
Excuse me. Getting over a cold.
I swear. Oh, what's it called? I'm looking it up because they're called nosegay arrangements.
Well, in a show like
James,
Peaky Blinders,
I'm not okay. Look,
I wasn't mocking you. I
big-
just thought that's a crazy name.
Why are you mocking me? In fact, wearing nosegays or a small bouquet of highly fragrant flowers, say that 3 times fast, first came into popularity in the Middle Ages as a way of avoiding bad odors. In Victorian times, wearing and giving nosegays became more symbolic. The arrangements of flowers in the small bouquet contributed to the message from the sender. So, yeah, we, and I'm talking about humans, walked around with nosegays all the time because your butt stink.
smell like shit. They should do.
I'd love to see somebody explain nosegays to Donald Trump. Just like imagining him taking this information and
He'll pass an executive order banning nosegays.
yeah,
from America.
DEI.
But they should do
Sorry, Mike.
some sort of period drama. They should pass a law where, like something like Peaky Blinders, or if they make like a Tale of Two Cities or a Les Mis adaptation, all the characters in every scene have to be like putting their nose in their shirt and going like, "Oh, it stinks!"
Yeah.
Like they should always be talking about how bad it smells.
There should be a scene in every Peaky
yeah.
Blinders where you see the guy's skid marks.
Yes.
There should be a scene where people
Picture in picture. In every scene, you see a picture in picture of the guy's skid marks, like everyone in the scene. Yeah.
in every room there's like skid marked underwear in the corner of the room on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're acting so tough. No one messes with the Peaky Blinders. Oh, sorry, I forgot to put my underwear in the hamper.
Tonight we either succeed or we die. Does anyone else notice it really stinks in here? Ew.
Oh
Ew.
man.
Let's
I
meet
always like,
outside
but
next
also,
time.
but also, people didn't bathe regularly, so you could be like super attracted to
Mhm.
a woman, and then you got swamp crotch,
Oh,
or
Is it?
so does she. You take
Doo-doo dick.
Yeah.
you take doo doo dick, you stank,
Mm-hmm.
and then also like you take all her 7 layers of clothes off finally, and then you go, oh, you naughty pussy. This stinks.
Yeah. You know what?
How am I supposed to kiss this girl?
It's so the trope, the comedic trope of like, if I could go back in time and kill anybody, I'd kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Think about if you went back in time to 1890s Austria. Well, you might want to bring yourself some nosegays. It's going to be stinky.
If I had a time machine, I'd go back in time and wash everybody's private parts.
That's a great idea for a sci-fi movie.
Doc, we're running out of energy.
And we're running out of
DeLorean
soap.
back. Yeah. Marty, we don't have time to wash the queen's vagina.
And the king's anus is looking mighty rank.
Gotta get back in time.
Ghostbusters.
Pussy cleaners. I'm so sorry for being rude, every listener, but
Wow.
come on.
The West
That's
Coast
funny.
has really made you blue.
It made me loose.
Yeah.
The word pussy is still funny to me. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to be a comedian. I hope I didn't offend anyone who has a nice, clean vagina.
Yeah.
Or a dirty one. Keep it however you want.
Keep
or
it however
keep
you
whatever private
want.
part you have however you want. Dirty, clean, no offense.
Imagine going back in time and giving Charles Manson a nice wash.
He looks like he needed it. Something
Yes.
about his beard and his whole look, you get the sense that down there it wouldn't be fresh.
Maybe he wouldn't have
Oh
been
my
treated like
God.
such an outcast if he had, taken a bit more care about his personal appearance and his hygiene. Yeah.
Did you watch the new Earl Morris documentary on Netflix about
Not yet.
Manson?
I heard about it.
The Manson family, man, they
Manson
were
family matters.
apparently all of them were just like louse infested old rugs down
Yeah.
there.
Because they lived on that Spawn ranch, this abandoned old ranch, and they were just
Oh, no
filthy.
pun intended. Yeah.
And they lived like actual pigs, just filthy, dirty hippies.
Is that why they wrote that in blood on the walls of their victims? Pigs, because they were like ashamed of how they lived?
I think so.
Was that when in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Brad Pitt goes to, try to help Bruce Dern when his ranch is taken over by hippies? Was that like a
Yeah, that's Spawn Ranch.
That's the Spawn Ranch, yeah.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hated that. I hated that they were all lounging around and taking advantage of this old man.
Lena Dunham and who else were the Manson girls?
I don't know why
movie?
that's so funny to me, but
Yeah.
I like that. You're like, guys, get it together.
Yeah.
This sweet old man.
The Manson family are lazy.
What new information does Errol Morris have about the Manson case?
Not going to give it away.
Oh.
Okay.
I will say, if you
What
watched
did you think the first time you met Charles Manson?
he does interject a little bit. What's the one from a few years ago? Wormwood or hey
There's
Mike, I bet you love Fog of War.
Fog of War was great. I've only seen it once, but I liked it. I liked the last one I saw. I think was Tabloid, the one about that Mormon woman who basically kidnapped a man and held him against his will because she wanted to marry him
in the UK, right?
Yeah.
That's what, dude. What if that's what Suze is doing to you?
Oh no, I'm being tabloided.
Okay, Wormwood. I will say this. There's slight themes in comparison with the two.
Tabloid and Wormwood. All right.
No, Wormwood and the new Manson one.
Oh, I don't know Wormwood. What was that about?
It's it's really good. It's about in 1953, Army scientist Frank Olson takes a fatal plunge from a hotel window. In 1975, a bombshell report ties his death to a top secret experiment.
Oh, are they fucking talking about MK Ultra?
Bingo! Give a
that was-
nosegay to James.
Oh,
Bingo.
give me that nosegay, darling. That is the. By the way, we did an episode on that. Sidney Gottlieb. I think that might have been the most interesting topic of any of the ones we've done for me.
Was that crazy. A two-parter too?
No, it was just a one-parter, but it could have been two. It's really crazy.
I really loved it. Yeah, that information was amazing.
The FBI just dosed people with LSD and they didn't know, and they
And guess what, up. Dudes? We did that one on my balcony while it was still pandemic-y out.
Right.
And then we did LSD after.
And then we were told to assassinate people.
Now, Chris, I have to ask you again. About your West Coast tour. You were traveling.
Mike is dying to know.
The backwoods. Well, I've never been to BC.
Oh, yeah.
You were going into small towns.
Mike, you would have loved it. I did one. The shows were all excellent.
Breweries in small backwoods, backwaters. How was it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a normal place, but the land is like magical. It's very Tolkien. There's misty mountains surrounding you. There's deep, dark forests, the ocean, rivers. It's really beautiful.
Were you having mugs of mead and singing drinking songs with other hobbits?
Yes, and then one night I got too drunk and was crying, and then a nice tavern wench shoved my face between her bosom.
Oh, that's nice.
That's
and
BC.
I felt better.
Yeah.
BC taverns.
And was the general
Canadians don't talk like this out in BC. Canadians don't talk like, take off, eh, bud? Hey. They don't talk like that.
It's a pretty American accent.
It stops around Manitoba, I'd say, that accent, the Canadian accent.
And speaking of that, was the general feeling that everyone was pissed off at our southern neighbor during your West Coast tour?
Talking
about America.
There was one show where bringing up the quote-unquote tariff war, and I'm quoting war, not there are tariffs, but like, it did split the room, and I was like, what the hell? And that was also the one show where I was riffing with some guys at a table because they were talking, and then I was like, oh, why am I getting the vibe that you guys are bad guys for real? And then they laughed really hard, and then I kind of moved on for the rest of the show, and then not to give away too many details, but then after the show, the owner of the place was like, they are bad guys.
Those are the local bad guys.
It's nice that they own it, I guess. They're just like, oh, he got us. We are bad human beings.
Yeah. It is funny when you travel around, no matter where you go, and a gruff-looking gentleman, you ask them, hey, what do you do for a living? And they go, I'm a contractor. You're always like, right. And moving on. Yeah. But there's all kinds of lovely, colorful characters who make up our wonderful country.
Yes.
But it was really fun, Mike. Every show was really fun.
Good. Nice.
They would have liked you. They would have, as soon as you came out and said, I'm like a butler, so-and-so.
I'm like a piece of shit. They would have been like, we love you.
Sometimes if you go to a small town in a brewery, it's hard work off the top, but then you get them and you party and it's great.
Nice.
Yeah. But I really loved it. And the comics I was on, Bo and Danielle, they were really fun people, and yeah, it was a really great time. So that was an OK Dope tour, the one down up Vancouver Island. I kept saying down, but we were going up. And yeah, did Hecklers, did a great show at Little Mountain. Colin Sharp got me on his Don't Tell in Vancouver. Did Aaron Reed's Hell Night with Gorbman, a mean alien that I was not funny on stage. I was just laughing at Gorbman the whole time because they are so
Gorb-
funny. That was a really, really fun show. So lots of
Nice.
fun friends and things to do. But I love it out in BC. So thank you everybody who came to those shows, and maybe we'll get there with Evil Men soon.
Before we get to this week's Evil Man, let me mention that we have a Patreon account that you can find at patreon.com/evilmen. And if you sign up and you donate a little bit of money to us, you get 2 bonus episodes a month. You get access to all our old bonus episodes, and you get to go on our Discord and chat with us. And you just help us keep doing this. So if you like us, please consider checking out patreon.com/evilmen. And if you already help us on there, thank you so much.
Hi everyone, we love you.
We love you.
Love you.
Mike.
James,
Yes.
you know how Evil Men every week we talk about a different bad fellow from history usually?
Usually, yes.
Well, can I ask you a personal question? And please let me know if I'm poking too much into your private life.
Sure.
Who's the subject of this week's Evil Man podcast episode?
Great question. Well, this week's suggestion came to us from Adrian on the Discord. Thank you, Adrian.
Oh.
And the evil man we're doing is named Walter Jackson Freeman II.
Walter Jackson Freeman II.
Now, first of all, what a name.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous name. But he was a pretty bad guy, and he now let me ask you guys before I tell you about this man. What do you think about lobotomies?
Did
Did you ever get one, Mike?
I mean, no judgment on anyone who does go under the knife for a lobotomy if that's what they want to do. All more power to them. But I don't.
It's like Botox. Hey,
Yes.
I'm not here to judge.
I like the kind of natural brain look for myself, so I probably wouldn't do a lobotomy. Yeah.
Well,
I would love to get one. Sit in a wheelchair with a blanket over my lap by a pond for the rest of my life.
well, I might be able to introduce you to an interesting guy then. Yeah, lobotomies were one of the most ghastly and dubious medical practices of the 20th century. And the legacy
I'm sorry, I gotta say, I don't even need a tall male nurse to wheel me back to I'll stay out all night.
Just get wet in the morning and you're
yeah, I'll be covered in dew.
And worms crawling out of the blanket. Yeah.
I'm really sorry, James. I feel like I punish you the most with this.
No.
I love you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll never interject again.
Not at all. Please do. Please interject anytime you wish. Well, lobotomies being big in the 20th century, that legacy was largely due to one man, Walter Jackson Freeman II. He's one of the most infamous medical figures of the last century. So let me tell you about this.
Nice to meet you, Walter.
Also, I want to give a shout out to the YouTube account Weird History because I watched one of their videos to get most of this info. So shout out to them.
So Walter, what line of business you in? If you meet him at a party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piece of brain removal. By the way, James, I've used YouTube too for research. And you know how Tim Gilbert has made fun of us at least thrice now for reading Wikipedia? Well, Tim, we also watch videos on YouTube.
Yeah, you know what? I would say the
Yes.
longer we do this, the less. It's good to look at Wikipedia just for like when he was
Overview.
born, some details. But the longer we do it, the more I watch YouTube videos, and I find it more informative.
I'm just putting
depends
this
on who's
out
making
there to all of our listeners who are familiar with the Evil Men world. But you know what? Next time I see Tim Gilbert, I'm going to grab him by the lapel and jostle him.
We should have Tim on again soon.
Yeah, that'd be
I
fun.
had him on when Mike was away, and it was wild.
Let's
He
get
was-
him. Let's
he was
get
crazy.
Tim. Let's
And I'd
get
like to see
him.
Mike and Tim in the same room because I feel like we often have Tim fill in for Mike.
Well, I was there, I think, for the Justin Timberlake one. I think that might have been
Oh,
his
true.
first. His first
Oh yeah,
go.
that one was good.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yes.
Anyway, so Walter was born in 1895 in Philly.
Okay.
And his father was a doctor, and his grandfather was a well-known surgeon in the Civil War. His grandfather was the first American to successfully remove a brain tumor.
Wow. So brain cutting
what I did.
cutting open brains runs in his family. So he's from Philly. Does that mean?
Yeah.
Did he give Sylvester Stallone lobotomy before Rocky? Because Rocky is set in Philadelphia, right?
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
How do people? What's the Philly accent? It's sort of like that or something. It's a weird.
Yeah.
It's a hard to do accent.
That explains
I'm
in the
from
end of
Philly.
Rocky when Rocky yells for Adrian over and over again, and then when she shows up, he doesn't even recognize her.
Like, I'm right here in front of you, Rocky. What's wrong? What's wrong?
Adrian.
Well, then remember in
Philly cheesesteak. Yeah.
remember in one of the later Rockies, like Rocky 4 or 5, the Russians actually make tiny boxers that go into Rocky's brain and punch his
Yes.
brain,
Yeah.
like little
Yeah.
tiny little gnomes.
Yeah.
Speaking of another
It's
Philly
scary.
lobotomy connection, remember that very special 2-part episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Jazz had a lobotomy?
Yeah.
And it was so
Yeah,
sad.
they
'cause
stopped calling him Jazz. They called him Jizz.
that's why it was so hard to watch.
Master Will, I can't help but notice you're starting to refer to Jazz as Jizz.
Yeah, it's because he had a lobotomy. And then there was a close-up on Jeffrey, and he just, a single tear rolled down his cheek.
And then Uncle Phil throws Jizz out, but then Jizz just lays on the steps for 5 days. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Oh, that's good.
That's Charles. No, who's that? Tom Waits.
I heard Tom Waits say that, yeah.
But he probably. What do you think? He probably
Stole
found
it.
that.
Yeah.
Sounds like W.C. Fields or something.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so
So they come from Philly, home of the brain doctors.
yes, Walter Jackson Freeman. And he went to the University of Pennsylvania Medical School. He studied neurology. He wanted to follow in his father and grandfather's footsteps.
That's dope.
So while he's in medical school, he studies the work of a guy called William Spiller, who was doing... I can't stop spilling things.
I spilled my Coca-Cola all over this patient's brain.
You know he's unorthodox, but Dr. Spiller is an incredible doctor.
That was a good cartoon character.
Oh, thanks.
Do it one more time.
I can't stop spilling things. I actually don't know why I even wrote this note in. It's not that interesting. Just Walter was really inspired by this neurological doctor, William Spiller, and he applied to work with him, but was rejected. I mean, that's really not that interesting. I could have skipped that.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But 1924, Walter Freeman moves to Washington, D.C., and he starts practicing as the first neurologist in the city.
Is Jackson his middle name, or were his parents divorced?
That's a great question. I don't know. Walter Jackson Freeman. It does kind of seem like a hyphenated name, but I don't know.
Okay.
So it's the mid
No worries.
1930s now, and a new craze is sweeping the medical world. Doing random things to people's brains. There was a Portuguese neurologist named Igas Moniz, and he actually came up with a procedure called a tartonomy. He
Huh.
put a Portuguese tart in a guy's brain.
Oh, it's
No.
delicious.
No. He came up with a procedure called a leucotomy, which is basically a lobotomy. And he'd drill holes into patients' skulls and extract bits of the brains out of the holes. So he'd drill a hole
And
in
they
your
thought
head.
he was just going to take their temperature.
And the theory was this would reduce violent, manic, and psychotic behavior. He won a Nobel Prize for it, even though many people were like, interesting.
You could really just do anything you wanted back then and say, it's science. And then people
Yeah.
would be like, oh, this Portuguese madman has a point.
Well, it
Yeah.
seems as though his theory was that there's the frontal cortex and in one part of your brain and the thalamus in another. And if you can kind of break the wiring between the two, you'll stop being crazy. And so that's what they were trying to do. But it does feel like if your computer wasn't working and you don't understand the chips and the
Yeah.
wires, and you just take a butter knife and whack it around a bit, and you go, maybe it'll work.
Like we still don't know tons about the brain.
No, it's basically bigger than the universe in there.
Yeah. Anyway, so Freeman, our
But I'm
guy,
willing to try anything
Me too. Me too.
to stop being violent and insane.
Freeman loved this Portuguese guy, Moniz. And they actually had a bromance, believe it or not.
Oh, that's aw.
They were like the Pitt and Clooney of reckless 1930s brain surgeons.
Or like the Hartnett, Balazzo, and Locke of podcasts.
Yes. Yes. They met at a conference in 1935, and Freeman was like, wow, he rocks. And Moniz became his friend and mentor. And up to this point, Freeman had spent years investigating mental illness, but for all his efforts, he really hadn't had any success or any results or any important discoveries. And he was like really interested that Moniz, the Portuguese guy, that he really believed mental illness was, because of like wiring of the brain. So if you snip the wiring, your disorders are gone. That's his theory. So, lobotomies make their way over to the United States. And the first one was done in 1936. And Freeman was like involved because he's like really interested in this idea, but he wasn't able to do the lobotomy because he's not a licensed surgeon. So he had to team up with a surgeon, a guy named James Watts. And they're like, we're going to do a lobotomy. We're going to drill a hole in a lady's head, snip some wiring in there, and leave, basically. And they did it to this woman who was a 63-year-old housewife named Alice Wood Hamat. And she had been suffering from insomnia and what we might call bipolar disorder now. I'm glad it's not just insomnia, because I'd be like, maybe just have some tea.
Yeah, have some warm milk and honey.
So in this, like, Freeman's not allowed to do the surgery, so he's just kind of directing Watts on what to do.
Hovering like a pervert, watching the operation unfold before him.
He was jerking off, apparently.
Ooh, that's a juicy brain on this housewife.
Housewifebrains.com. Anyway, so they do this procedure on her, and according to her husband, it did go well. She only lived for 5 more years. But according to her husband, she was happier than she had been before. No
Finally,
info on how she
peace
felt.
and quiet.
So Freeman, our guy, Walter Freeman, and this other guy, Watts, they wanted to make names for themselves after this new spin on the Moniz procedure, and they called it the Freeman-Watts technique. And they're just like doing this now. They're drilling holes into heads and sticking a thing in there, and yeah.
Is it all just basically guesswork though? Like they don't really know what they're doing. They're just poking around until something happens. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Right.
close their eyes and circle their index finger around, and then they drill where it lands.
Literally almost. It reminds me, do you remember there was a Simpsons episode when they're on Itchy and Scratchy Island or Itchy and Scratchy Land, and a robot falls over and you see all the chips and wires in its head, and Marge
Yeah.
goes, "See, Homer? See all that stuff in there, Homer? That's why your robot didn't work."
Yeah,
Which is pretty funny, but this is what it is like to me. Like their view of the brain is so dumb that, like, well, if we stick kind of an instrument in there and kind of cut a bit of the brain, you'll just not be depressed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cut out a bit of the brain. Yeah.
Yeah, that
So now, like-
department of the brain.
Yeah. So now the Freeman-Watts technique is a thing. By 1942, they had performed over 200 lobotomies, and they claimed 63% of their patients had improved.
Was it mostly women who were subjected to lobotomies?
That's a great question. I didn't see that.
I wonder.
But you know what? God, at this time, it wouldn't be shocking, would it? You could
Yeah.
imagine like a husband being like, "My wife doesn't love that I'm a shitty guy. Can you?
My
do
wife
something
won't
about
stop
her brain?"
spending my money.
Mhm.
Let's give her a lobotomy.
Yeah.
My wife won't
She's
stop doing the
insane.
Charleston.
My wife is nervous
her
about world.
down.
My wife is nervous about how World War II is currently happening.
My wife can't stop looking at social media because we're in World War II.
My wife's had a good run, but it's time to shut her down.
Ugh.
So
Yikes.
yeah, in the Freeman-Watts technique, it's like it's still very dangerous and unproven and reckless, but it was like kind of a legitimate procedure. It was an operation. You know, you needed a surgeon, you needed an operating room, you needed anesthesia, you needed trained neurosurgeons, you know? And so this really held back a lot of people or a lot of patients getting this procedure done, because a lot of the people who, I guess, quote unquote, needed it were in mental hospitals, and mental hospitals don't have operating rooms and they don't have surgeons, and they often did not have a budget. So Freeman's like, God, I wish we could just do lobotomies in a way that didn't need all this annoying, red tape, like surgeons and operating rooms and medical procedure,
There's
medical
too much
rules.
bureaucracy in the way of
Exactly.
lobotomies.
He was like the
Yeah.
Elon Musk of lobotomies.
Yeah. Let me get that drill in there. What are you guys doing?
And he also, this guy Freeman, like, he had an ego. He kind of was like, I kind of want to do this shit myself, you know?
Yeah.
So he gets inspired by
The
this
Philadelphia Egos.
Oh my God, that's good.
And also, I was going to say, if Gritty and the Philly Fanatic didn't have lobotomies, I'll eat my hat.
They
Look at those
needed a
guys.
lobotomy. Yeah.
Gritty definitely did. So he starts getting inspired by this Italian psychiatrist named Fiamberti.
Ooh.
And
Sounds
Fiamberti,
handsome.
honestly, he does. Fiamberti has his own Italian spin on lobotomies, which was jamming a tube into people's eye sockets and then injecting alcohol into the tube and dissolving brain tissue. I wonder if it was wine, because, Italians, they love a red
When
wine.
the moon hits your eye like that thing, I jam in it.
And is it true that this Italian surgeon, he was looking for a part of the brain that he called mamma?
Well, when he did dissolve part of the brain, he would say, Bella, Bella, Bella.
Yeah. Mwah. Blow kisses at it.
So
Is it true that he rode a Vespa inside the person's brain?
So he stick a thing in your eye and put booze in your brain hole.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little sip for me and a little bit for the brain.
Wow.
So Freeman.
Wait. Did he pour wine into the brain for real?
No, I'm sure it was like medical alcohol, whatever.
Oh.
But it's fun to imagine.
A Long Island
Yeah.
iced tea.
The brain is like spaghetti.
Well, it kind of is.
Excuse me, my mouth
It
water
is
every
on
time.
Halloween. Yeah. Your brain is a bunch of noodles.
He was the only
no
surgeon
offense.
who performed. He performed just wearing an undershirt.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Imagine your brain doctor looked like Marcello Mastroianni.
Oh my god! I would
Oh my
love it.
god.
But I would
That'd
get
be
Or
mad.
Pat
beautiful.
Mastroianni from Degrassi Junior High.
Yes.
Joey Jeremiah.
Yeah. Or Pat Morita from the Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm. Or Kid K from Technotronic.
Or the band K's Choice.
Oh my god. Or you had to make a Sophie's choice. Your brain or the doctor.
Oh my god!
Wow. It's a lot to think about. Anyway, so Freeman, he just loves this whole sort of simple new way to mess around with brains. So he starts doing experiments.
He come home from work.
Funniest sentence in the world.
Honey, I love my job.
There's so many new ways to mess around and scoop around with brains. He sounds like a professional zombie.
and again, he's like Elon. He doesn't want red tape. He doesn't want silly rules and guidelines and medical, safety things.
Yeah.
He just wants to be able to mess up a bit of someone's brain to make them not crazy anymore.
Well, his last name is Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's like, why do you need all this interference? Let me live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he starts experimenting on cadavers. And he loves this eye socket idea.
Oh, you know what? So do I.
Yeah, it's delightful sounding.
It's very European. It's very sophisticated. Yeah.
So he starts.
I've noticed this cadaver is a lot more calmer since I poked its eye out.
So he starts going, God, I wonder how I can get into the brain via an eye socket and how I can make it really simple so that even I can do it. I don't need Watts to come in, some surgeon, and do it for me, and I'm not getting all the attention. How could I just get into the brain via an eye socket and anyone can do it? I could do it myself. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got an idea. There's an ice pick in my kitchen. Why don't I use that?
Right.
And so he came up with the ice pick lobotomy, also known as the transorbital lobotomy.
Oh, that sounds actually quite dope.
Yeah.
It's like a rave that you wish you had gone to in the 90s.
Well, when I think of
orbital
ice pick,
meets Kraftwerk, and it's just like transcendent.
When I think of ice pick, I think of Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Wouldn't have minded her putting an ice pick in my eye.
I know.
That's
your favorite movie, James.
I love that movie.
I'm imagining you, James, after getting a transorbital lobotomy and then opening and closing your legs like Sharon Stone did.
Transorbital lobotomy. It's done.
So would you want to know how an ice pick lobotomy was done?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I'll guess a little trigger warning for listeners. It's a little bit grisly.
Is this when he would use the ice pick to pick off pieces of the person's brain, and then he'd put those pieces in a cocktail for some guests at his party?
He may have done that once or twice. He probably did. So you take an ice pick, you slide it under the eyelid, and you slide it under there until it was stopped by the top of your eye socket, like the bone. Okay? And then you hit the ice pick with a mallet so that it goes through the bone and it goes right into your darn brain.
Would you
Then-
go blind from this?
Apparently not, because you're
Okay.
doing it above your eye, kind of like sliding it past your eye up into your
Okay.
brain. Anyway,
Also, he's taking care.
Mike, they would put a little tiny cloth in between your eyeball and the ice pick
Okay.
to protect the eyeball.
like when you
Good,
get a
good,
lap
good.
dance. They
Yeah,
put
like a little sliver of a face cloth.
Mm.
Yeah.
but it's like an eyeball lap dance, kind of.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah, imagine you got a lap dance on your eyeball from a pick.
Okay, I get it.
Right. So okay,
No touching the ice pick.
So yeah, you take an ice pick, you slide it under your eyelid, it hits the top of your eye socket, you hit it with a mallet so it pierces the bone and goes into the brain, and then he would tap the ice pick 2 inches further to go into the brain tissue. Then he would gently pivot the pick around in a prescribed pattern. Like he would basically jiggle it in like his special way.
He'd spell his initials or do the alphabet.
Yeah. Then he would hammer it another inch into the brain and then do a different special motion.
So
If
he knows
this-
what he's doing.
So it's
Yes.
all very scientific, is what you're saying.
He
It's
knows
all-
Yes.
exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yes. If necessary, he would move the handle up and make like a different cut in the brain. But anyway, then he
It might be necessary, yeah.
Yeah. Then he'd pull the pick out and do it to your other eye.
Whoa.
This was the whole technique.
Sounds like he loved doing it.
It honestly does sound like that.
Wow.
And yeah, his logic is he's breaking the wiring, but it's literally just jamming an ice pick in your brain, jiggling it around, and pulling it out.
When he did this, would he be singing to himself, "We're jamming, jamming in the name of the Lord. Jamming, we're jamming, we're jamming, we're jamming."
We hope you like jamming too. Just kidding. Only I can do it.
I don't like this at all.
Yeah. Did anyone with the ice pick rammed up into their head while he's doing the swirling motion go, little to the left, please?
Just like that.
We're jamming all the way in the brain. Jamming my brain, we're jamming my brain, we're jamming my brain.
Hope you
Buffalo
like having
Brave
a
jam.
brain.
Jamming to America in our brains.
Ice pick doctor.
Won't
With an ice
you
pick in
hear
your
me
eyeball.
sing? This ice pick of freedom, jam it in my brain. Brain jamming song.
Oh my god.
He's jamming
Yeah.
he's jamming till the cows come home, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, that is so well put. He's literally jamming until cows come home. I mean, you're totally right. Yeah, so in 1946, the war is over. Yay!
Yay.
And he performs the first transorbital lobotomy.
Oh,
Yay!
imagine how annoying it would be to get your lobotomy just before the war ends, so you don't get to participate in the fun and excitement of the parties when it's, when the war is over, because you're just, sitting under a tree with a blanket in a wheelchair.
Well,
By a pond.
yeah. Well, Mike, this first transorbital lobotomy was performed in Washington, D.C. on a 29-year-old depressed housewife. And yeah, a bit of a theme here. And her daughter claimed it worked.
Huh.
So I don't know. Anyway, so now
That's
it's 19
crazy. If an
I know.
ice pick went into your eye, scooped out random parts of your brain, and you come home and you're like, I'm so happy now.
They fixed mom.
They fixed mom with something from the kitchen.
I know. Is it
It's
like,
so what the
yeah,
fuck?
it's like when the TV doesn't work and you whack it on the side and somehow it works, but it doesn't make sense. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, like blowing into a Nintendo cartridge or
Yeah.
like now that Nazis are back, maybe lobotomies will come back.
Wouldn't shock me.
I mean, the damn guy's putting chips in people's brains. He's interested in messing with your brain.
That's true.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing like like you just randomly place a microchip on like, you know, undiscovered gray matter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then
I
also
mean,
like
the,
didn't the
sorry,
guy have the brain grow over it and have like all these mental issues or something? Physical issues?
I know that the monkeys they put the chips in, a lot of them died, but they did develop a white South African accent before they died. So that's good.
All of a sudden, just before the monkeys die, they go, "We have all of the knowledge of every minute of Elon Musk's life." It's all his information that they're putting into.
so back to Freeman. It's 1947, and remember his surgeon friend Watts, who would get to do the slightly more proper brain surgeries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Watts is kind of pissed. Watts is like a legitimate surgeon, even though their procedure was still pretty sketchy. But Watts doesn't like how Freeman wants to take this lobotomy surgery and turn it into basically an impulsive office procedure. Like, you could just do this anywhere. Yeah, just lie back. I'll knock a ice pick in your eye. Like, it's literally done that basically. And Watts is like, I don't think that's good. But Freeman, he was basically like, I don't care. You're a loser. And he just kept doing the procedure. Freeman was doing it wherever, conference halls. He was doing it in hotel rooms. Like, hey, if you want a lobotomy, you'll
there
get
was
one.
no regulation or no sort of safety standards where like he wasn't a qualified surgeon, but
No.
he was still allowed to do all this.
It seems like it didn't count as surgery, but this was his little loophole.
Right.
And remember his inspiration, the Portuguese guy Moniz?
Yeah.
He didn't like it either.
Oh,
He's
God.
like, lobotomy should only be done when all other treatments have failed. But
Hmm.
Freeman was really like, hey, who wants a lobotomy? Let's go do it. He's literally touring the country, performing lobotomies, looking for patients.
Wow.
And he charged $25.
Well, that's pretty good, I guess.
I wonder, you know what? I'm looking that up. What was $25 in 1947?
I wonder, would I pay a guy $25 to shove an ice pick above my eye and then poke into my brain and then do the other eye as well? Yeah, probably.
Apparently, that's only $350 in today's money. That is a good deal.
You know what? I'm gonna start giving lobotomies.
It's an easy $300.
It's a good racket.
So Freeman, he becomes like a character. Like, he's almost like a promoter. He has a theatrical flair. He would do lobotomies like in like conference halls so people could watch, and he'd have a cane with him and a fancy hat and like a like coiffed goatee, and he'd literally do tricks like hammer both eyes at the same time.
What?
Like almost like a huckster.
What?
I mean, literally. Yeah. And one time in 1951,
This is
Freeman's
fucked up.
doing yes, it is.
Because you know what?
Hmm.
Because we're forgetting that he just likes doing that move.
Yeah.
Like
He was annoyed that his
science or medical or not, there's this guy that needs to put ice picks in people's eyes. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, I love this.
literally.
Because it's gone beyond even thinking about medical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and one time in 1951,
It's like
he's
the
doing-
Jim Rose Sideshow Circus.
yeah, he's doing a lobotomy, and while he's doing the lobotomy, he poses for a photo during the procedure, accidentally puts the ice pick in too deep, and the patient died.
Yeah, but how's the
Ooh.
photo?
I mean, it is a good photo. It was definitely like, you could put it on your Instagram like page, not even a story.
Why did I Google photo when you just go to images? Okay. Which one is it? I mean, Jesus Christ, there's quite a few here.
Now, I
Yeah.
feel I take bad pictures. I feel like I have an awkward smile. I always
Yeah.
overdo it. But I've
No.
never posed for a photo where I've killed someone as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
Okay, so imagine you killed someone and thought you looked bad in the photo.
Oh, I would kill
That's-
myself.
That's a double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
that is bad.
So did
That's
he
why
get?
you always have to have the camera aiming down at you
Yeah, you do
if you're
duck
killing
lips.
someone.
Did he get in
Yeah.
trouble for taking a bad picture and also killing
No.
someone?
No, not really.
Really? Huh.
Not that I saw. And he was like, he loved being a showman. And he's like, obviously, this is not going well a lot of the times. And there's a lot of criticism. And like doctors and scientists are like, I don't know about this. And he just dismissed it all. He also would often skip washing his hands. He would not wear gloves or a mask. And he said, quote, that he didn't believe in all that germ crap.
So he's sort
There
of
you
like
go,
one
Mike.
of those convoy truck guys, or like an anti-vaxxer.
Kind of.
He's got his own medicine. He would do well under RFK Jr., I think.
And this was a funny detail. He would chew gum while he was doing it.
Really?
That would be annoying.
Like Pavarotti would. And people always said Pavarotti, great singers shouldn't chew gum when they sing. And he proved the naysayers wrong. Sounds like this surgeon also proved the naysayers wrong.
Is that true about Pavarotti?
Yeah. He would chew gum when he sang.
Seriously?
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a gum chewer to me.
He was, Hubba Bubba, Double Bubble, Bazooka Joe, any gum, gushers or squirters, whatever they were called. The one with the jelly center.
I think we're not in a gum era anymore. When I was young, gum
It's
was
not as
huge.
popular.
Trident was like they could.
Oh,
they were worth their weight in gold.
Gen Z, they've turned their backs on gum.
I can't remember the last time I
Yeah.
saw a pack of gum.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and again, he never received any surgical training.
Wow.
And he got a lot of media attention. It's like, look at this iconoclast genius with a really simple brain fixing technique. It's wonderful, Meanwhile, usually the lobotomy, would very often change the lives of the patients, but not always for the better. People were sometimes in a diminished mental state afterward, or they had to be retaught how to eat or use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Other people would lose use of their limbs, or they were just, or in a childlike state, or just become a full vegetable.
But that was their problem. That was not the lobotomies that did that.
15% of the patients supposedly died from the procedure.
Yeah.
And here's what's interesting.
Because of other stuff.
Yes. So a lot of patients were deemed, like, obviously, if anyone's getting a lobotomy, they were deemed to be having mental issues.
Right.
So, considering when this is, the 40s and 50s, possibly as many as 40% of the patients were thought to be homosexuals just looking to change their sexual orientation.
Oh, no.
Or, I'm sure coerced into it or whatever, which is very sad.
Yeah.
He lobotomized some people underage, which is pretty horrific. Hey, he lobotomized JFK's sister.
Rosemary Kennedy.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah.
She's like probably the most famous lobotomy victim.
Yeah.
Oh, what an honor. Well, yeah, apparently Rosemary Kennedy was deprived of oxygen at birth and grew up with some behavioral issues and delays. And yeah, when she was 23, her dad, Joseph, brought Rosemary to Freeman. And he did the lobotomy, and she was it left her unable to walk, and they put her
Or
in
speak.
in institutions for the last 63 years of her life. How horrible and horrific.
Like, he went too far or whatever. She's 23 years old, left permanently unable to walk or speak, and then she was sequestered in institutions until her death at age 86.
That's horrific. And
And
I
I
wonder how
believe
bad she
That's
was
one of the
before.
scariest things
yeah.
I've ever heard.
Was she like was she functional before but just had some behavioral issues? I mean, it's
She
really
had
horrible.
slow learning issues because maybe the deprivation and because
But
I
I
just
wonder
read
if you
about
could
it.
if you met her, would you think, she's a functioning human being. She just has some
She had
developmental issues.
developmental
Yeah.
delays and behavioral issues from what I can see, but I don't have a specific example.
And then JFK was lobotomized in November of 1963 by a brand new experimental procedure. But yeah, the Rosemary Kennedy story is awful, and I think they told the family that she was dead when she was just like after her lobotomy, she was like hidden away somewhere in like a home, and the family were just told she was dead, and they only found out years later that she was alive.
Oh my
So,
God.
You know
That's
what?
horrible.
What percentage of humanity on the planet do you think is extremely cruel and dumb?
That's a tough one.
Percentage out of every person on the planet.
Extremely cruel. I'd like to believe that's a small sliver of extremely cruel.
95,
No.
95%.
I was going 90.
Although you know what they say, Chris? They say you are at any point 3 days without food from breaking in your neighbor's door and trying to eat them or kill them or something. There's something scientists say. At any point, if you went 3 days without food, you'd be trying to kill your neighbor.
Well, I'd ask them. I'd be looking in the cupboards for Pringles first, but yeah, I see your point.
Anyway, so this is kind of interesting. So you're probably thinking, why the hell are so many people going, "Ooh, can I have a lobotomy, please?" Well,
me.
at this time, people didn't really understand mental health issues. They didn't even have hashtag Bell Let's Talk, for Christ's sake.
Right.
And drugs weren't introduced yet, right? So patients and families of patients, they wanted to try anything. Also, this was a time when asylums were really overcrowded. Again, people didn't know how to deal with mental health problems. So this kind of almost like miracle quick fix was like appealing to people. And between 1940 and 1944, 680 lobotomies were performed in the United States. They peaked in 1949. The Soviet Union banned lobotomies in 1950 for moral reasons. Japan and Germany soon followed.
Wow.
And so lobotomies started to decline in the 50s. And also, like, drugs started coming out in the 50s that were blatantly more helpful than getting a lobotomy. So that lessened lobotomies too.
So in Russia, Joseph Stalin saw lobotomies and he was like, this is a little too much. It's a little too cruel.
Yeah.
Literally. And in the States,
I don't want them to keep living
hellfire.
after.
Yep. And Freeman kept doing lobotomies into the 60s.
Wow,
Even as doctors were condemning them and hospitals were like, no, you cannot do a lobotomy in here.
Your lobotomies are not groovy, doctor.
It's like when a man with no shoes enters a restaurant.
Yeah, literally.
They point at the sign.
And I'll just say by the 70s, a lot of countries and states had banned the procedure, although it was continued in France into the 1980s.
Nice. Never give up, France.
Yeah.
I wonder if he performed a lobotomy in the famous Studio 54 during the heady days of disco.
Dun 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 dun. All these people just standing, drooling on themselves on a disco dance floor.
Get my brain open, put an ice pick underneath my eye, and poke into my skull and destroy the brain matter. That's Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees.
Well, you can tell by the way the ice pick goes in my brain. I've had a lobotomy. No time to complain.
So he's up until the 70s. Amazing.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, but all in all, around 40,000 people got lobotomies. And
that's awesome.
yeah, and Freeman, he did his last lobotomy in 1967. He did it on a woman who was having it done for the third time,
The
and she
Summer of Love.
died.
Wow.
Right. And so he retired, and he went to a private practice, and he died at 76.
Third time lobotomy. How much brain did she have?
She had a lot.
Huge brain. Have you seen
She
that
had
woman?
a lot.
Look at the brain on her.
It was thick in a brain way.
Why don't we worship women with big brains? Why is it always got to be?
My brain is up here.
The sound of them slowly shutting down as the ice pick goes in. Okay.
We've only heard about women getting lobotomies. I'm suspicious that it was only
that
women.
That is very true, Mike.
No, there was a boy survivor I read about.
Good.
One of his youngest patients was 4 years old. No, Howard Doley was 12.
What? I had that info and I just didn't even say it because that was so sad to me.
Okay. But he's still alive and he lives with it. He didn't have obvious side effects. But his stepmother couldn't deal with his behavioral issues. Other people that knew him said he was fine. Still, they gave him a lobotomy and he lived the rest of his life with it. But he was like, I have to make peace with my past. Like there's parts of my brain that I don't know that I don't have.
That's my favorite video genre, like stepmother forces stepson to get lobotomy.
Yeah.
I feel like
stepmother S's stepson's D while oh god.
He's undergoing a transorbital lobotomy.
Transorbital lobotomy. Also, did you say this, James? Oh, sorry. No, you go. Sorry.
You know how like dumb guys now are like, how come back when I was young they didn't have no ADD, they didn't have no depression, nobody had this, nobody had that? Well, guess what? They probably did, but they didn't know what to call it, and they didn't have drugs back then. So they did stuff like give people lobotomies, which is like
everybody in my family from the past was nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, how come everybody has anxiety now, eh? Where was that? Why you just same what you're saying, and then it's like, oh really? Well, they just stabbed your brain and kept you in institutions until you were 87, sitting in a chair with a blanket on your knees.
It's kind of interesting. It's like, man, it's kind of crazy.
Did you say this in 1946? Freeman witnessed the death of his 11-year-old son, Keen?
No. But I love Keen's mustard.
And I love Keen's hiking boots, to be honest. I got a pair recently.
I love Keenan and Kel, the stars of Good Burger from back in the day.
Shit.
He's been on SNL for like 22 years.
Mm-hmm. And he hosts a successful, cool, dude. He runs a successful and influential comedy festival as well.
Really? Oh, yeah, that's right.
But he hasn't left SNL because he's everyone's favorite.
So Freeman's son died?
11 years old. They were hiking in Yosemite, and as Keen filled up his flask on the edge of a waterfall, he slipped and fell. Freeman rarely spoke of the incident, but it was likely highly traumatic. That's 1946. So they're kind of hinting like, you think stabbing people in the brain for the rest of your life maybe was born out of a deep-seated, horrifying trauma you never dealt with yourself?
That's interesting.
I wonder.
It's interesting.
Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Well, Keenan Ivory Wayans. Not the best Wayans brother, but a decent one.
He started it all. He got the family going.
Yeah. He got the family going, but it's tough to beat Damon. It's tough to beat Damon. And Damon's son's not half bad either.
And his brother, Marlon.
Marlon Brando.
Who's the worst Wayan?
Sean? And I'm just saying this because, Sean, you know it. You're very funny as the straight guy, so I'm only saying worst in...
Oh, is Sean the handsome dude?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's got handsome. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
fine. Like, I don't mean worse, like he's bad. I just
Mm.
mean the other guys are way goofier and sillier. And Sean is kind of, you're like, yeah, what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
Handsome
this
straight guy.
guy's the worst Wayans. There was Kim Wayans also. To be honest, I don't know her work enough to make a judgment.
Oh, I
Jim
watched every
Wayans.
Single
episode
out
of
the
In Living
one
Color.
woman, but I don't
Jim
know if she was good or
Wayans?
not.
Was that his name? Who played Fire Marshal Bill? Jim Wayans, and he played. He was in The Mask. Jim Wayans, and he did Ace Ventura. Jim Wayans.
Yeah, you're right. From In Living Color.
Yeah, he was a very good Wayan brother.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. I
The
think
cable
he took
Wayans.
off. He took off, and now he's the one taking care of the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the
And now
only
there's
Wayan
Damon
brother.
Wayans Jr.,
Yeah.
who has a career too.
No, Jim
Nice.
Wayans is the only Wayan brother from Burlington, Ontario. Also,
Jim
Um,
Wayans.
remember the Fly Girls? Anybody remember the Fly Girls other than me?
Yes, they
J
danced.
Lo was a Fly Girl.
They
I mean,
danced
that's
beautifully.
how big they were.
Yeah.
Rosie Perez
danced
was the
lovely.
choreographer.
I mean, that was just
Wow.
God. Younger people today don't know
I
enough
know.
about the
It was a
Fly
golden
Girls,
era
possibly.
for things that we saw at that time.
Well, gentlemen, that is the horrible story of Walter Jackson Freeman II. And, as just a little note, some people said he did have genuine compassion for people, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well, I wonder if we should be paid a visit from a little wee friend called the
Evil Amateur.
Oh, here he comes. And what's wrong? He has a sort of vacant look in his eyes, and there's some incisions around his head. Oh no! And he's being wheeled out by an assistant, and there's a blanket on his lap. Oh, Evilometer,
no.
what's happened to you?
Oh no, Chief is putting a pillow over his face once and for all so he can finally be free.
Mike. I like how you said that. What's happened to you?
I know. Mike is very
He can't help
even.
but sing. He's he's got a great voice.
He's like a bird on a tree branch.
Mike is like a bird. He
Nelly
wants to fly
Furtado
away.
warned you about me. Yes.
He doesn't know where his home is. Maybe one of you guys go first because I need to think about this.
I'll go. I think this guy he was addicted to scooping people's brains out and carving them up and not really thinking about it. And Lord knows what he thought he was doing. And he was made a show of it. Made a show of ruining people's lives.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him. How many did he do? 600 or something?
He did a lot.
He did a lot over 3 decades. I'm gonna give him a 7.9.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7 because he sincerely murdered a lot of people and inspired other doctors to go out and murder people.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I'll say a 6.8 because he was literally taking people's lives in his own hands and with
And
an
then
ice
when
pick
people be
also
like-
in his hands.
Yeah, and people would have to have like checks and stuff for him. He'd be like, "Screw off," and then he'd be like, "Watch me do 2 at once."
Yeah,
He was a maniac.
He was
Right.
literally a maniac.
you're right.
He
Sometimes when I do the
basically-
research,
he
I haven't
literally
thought
lived at
about it yet.
Maniac Mansion.
Yeah, Mike's
He
right.
lived in the top floor of Maniac Mansion.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then he was never arrested or reined in
No.
in any way. It's so wild. I guess in those days, if you just presented as, still today, if you present as like a professional and you've got showmanship, people will believe you, I guess.
He's giving
Yeah.
Maniac.
One thing I wasn't quite clear on, and I am curious, is like the original lobotomy done by the Portuguese man, and I just say that because his name's hard to pronounce, and I don't want to keep trying to pronounce it. Where he kind of drills a hole and cuts out a bit of the brain. Is there any logic to that? I guess there's not because they don't still do it.
It's funny that guy was like, what what Walter is doing is crazy. It's not as refined and scientific as mine, which is
Yeah.
also absolutely random.
Right.
And
Like his is so primitive and batshit crazy, and
Yeah.
then Freeman did his own spin on it that was like.
I wonder if
even
just the look
way
of like
stupider.
of a actual surgeon wearing a surgeon's coat with medical instruments made it seem more legitimate than a guy in a tuxedo going like with two ice picks.
Pretending he's like skiing with ski poles.
Like it's a horror movie.
Yeah, he would do that
Yeah.
thing, where you run your finger
He should
around
have
the
been
rim of a
called
wine
Dr.
glass.
Giggles.
Where you can make a tune running your fingers around the rim of a wine glass?
Yes.
Yeah.
He would do that on like multiple glasses while hammering in
Yeah.
an ice pick.
Or he'd
Yeah.
give like lobotomies to people, stab them in the eye with an ice pick while spinning a plate on their forehead. Okay.
Lobotomy. Well,
He would throw an
thanks.
ice pick way up into the air. It would flip about 7 times and land perfectly in an eye socket.
Then he would sit in it with his butt and force it in, and the audience would applaud.
He'd fart it in.
That'll be $300, please.
Can you stab my butt? It's insane. Oh my god. The Kennedy daughter thing is insanely horrific.
Mm,
The family's cursed every way you look at it, I think.
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
I really was hoping for the best of them back when Joe Sr. was making a fortune off a bootlegger, but he definitely screwed some kind of witch over or something because
Yeah.
on a bad whiskey deal, I guess. Because, yeah, man, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Well, thanks, James, for telling us the story of Dr. Walter.
It is my pleasure.
Do you motherfuckers have anything to promote coming up?
Oh. No, not before tomorrow.
Mike, you're
I'm-
working on your show?
Working on a show for Edinburgh Festival. Ha ha ha. I'm doing a first look at it on April 9th at Tall Boys.
Oh.
I'll put the link to the tickets in this episode. It's called International Lava, and it's about being in a long distance relationship, but also other humorous topics.
Oh,
It's
very
going to be
exciting,
very
Mike.
funny. My tickets just went on sale for the Grindstone Theater show in Edmonton, April 27th, and they're already selling, y'all. So get
Edmonton.
those. I don't want to go to Edmonton if not all seats for Grindstone are sold. It'll be nice to get back.
Love it.
Well, guys, that was really fun. Thanks, James. You're really good at this.
Thank you.
I think you're the best at it. That was another great episode of Evil